So Corbin is amazing. He's an amazing entrepreneur. He actually teaches the BYU, an entrepreneur class at BYU. Some of you have taken his class. And he doesn't teach there because he needs to. He teaches there because he wants to impact and help young people. And he's had a lot of success in the consumer goods industry. He's built and sold multiple really successful companies. And also, so his expertise is in being an entrepreneur and then also in real estate investing. So those are the two things that he is an absolute master at. And he's going to be speaking about those two things tonight. He has a wife named Kara that's amazing, and a daughter named Kate that has sold with us. Corwin's his son-in-law. A lot of you guys know them. And then another daughter named Jess, and a soon-to-be another son-in-law, right?
And I became a grandfather 3 weeks ago today.
Let's go. A dog. It's a dog. It's just a dog. So, anyway, I want to kick it over to him. I guess before I do that, I want to mention Corbin has been an amazing mentor to me, and I think multiple people in this room. When I met Corbin, I was a sophomore at BYU and studying marketing, and had done a year or two of summer sales, and I had put away a little bit of money, but had very little vision for what I wanted to do in my life, and how I was going to build wealth to provide for a family and find freedom in my life. And I sat down with him, and he, with me, talked about some of the things that he's going to be talking about tonight. And I was just hooked and all in, and I was kind of his disciple and willing to do what he told me to do. And a lot of the things that you'll hear tonight have impacted my life in a really big way. A lot of times we overestimate what we can do in 1 year, but we underestimate where we can be in 5 years. And I think I met Corbin about 5 years ago and have been basically applying a lot of the things that he taught me for 5 years or so now. And it's changed my life and my family's life. And so I really appreciate him. I'm really grateful that he's here with us tonight. And let's give him a huge hand. So.
My friends, good to be with you tonight. Just back to that story quickly. Parker comes to me 5 years ago, and I said, all right, Parker, good to meet you. I knew his mom. We went to high school together. And I said, Parker, in order for me to help you out, like, how much money do you need to invest? And I'm like, are we talking? It's a college, it's a sophomore in college. How come like $2 grand, $5 grand, 10 grand, 20 grand? Because if you don't tell me, it's different. He came in looking for advice. And he says, no, more like this. Excuse me, you're a sophomore in college? And I had been exposed to summer sales once through a friend, Thomas, and now through Parker. And it's like, what? This didn't exist when I was in college. And so the first thing I want to say to everybody sitting in this room is props, because summer sales sucks. It is a miserable experience. And yet I tell 500 students every single semester, this is what you should be doing. And I don't know, maybe 20 follow and do what I tell them to do. That's typical, right? Most people are stupid. But I'm such a fan. I'm such a fan because you can get so far ahead in life if you can just accelerate things. And then the things I'm going to teach you tonight, it's not just accelerating them, which step one is doing something to get ahead of everybody else. And there is nothing like summer sales. What could you do? What are the alternatives to summer sales to make money? There aren't a lot. Drugs is good. Drugs is good. You say that? Don't think you should be around. But seriously, you guys have taken the step and you said, I'm going to go do summer sales. You will not have the most fun 4.5 months of your life. You will be bitten by dogs. You will be chased by dogs. People will be rude to you. By the way, rejection is one of the best things you can learn in life. This morning, I started listening to a new book called The Comfort Zone, and it was so interesting. You listened to it?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Fascinating. So it talks about how our ancestors, our grandmas, grandpas, great grandmas, great grandpas were so much better prepared for life than we are. Because life was hard back then. They didn't take a plane across the country. They didn't, have cars, whatever. Life was a lot more difficult. We had heated toilet seats. I mean, life is good. Have you ever gone without a meal? Rarely, right? I mean, sure, yeah, you've gone without a meal, but have you ever been really hungry? I don't think so if I were to compare you to somebody else in another country. We've got it good is the point that I'm trying to make, and is the point the book was trying to make. This is the kind of hard that you do to be better prepared for life and to deal with challenges that come, okay? And so, although it might be hard, you're going to go out with the opportunity to bank. And I would just say to you, set some goals. Successful people have goals, and I wouldn't set my goal at $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. I've had children work for Point for a number of years, and I know it's possible. And if I'm brand new first year at this, I'd set my goal at 80 grand. And I would bust my butt to reach that goal. Now, let me teach you what to do with 80 grand, okay? It's super important. And I love that you're here tonight and taking notes, I'll give you my slides. So I'd rather that you absorb, that you just pay really close attention and absorb. Can you share my slides with everybody?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. Take out maybe a few photos and stuff, reduce the file, but some of it's my personal stuff. But absorb and just listen and learn, ask questions anywhere along the line. But what I'm going to teach you tonight is a life changer. Okay. At the end, I want to come back to you and I want to ask where you are 5 years later. Are you okay openly sharing your numbers? Okay. So props for being here. Go out and bank. It just isn't worth coming home with 12 or 15 grand. Okay. I want you to come home with 60, 70, 80, 100, $120. Go out and make it, bring it home. And here's what it's going to do to change your life. Okay. All right. So.
Press down. Sorry. Down.
Got it. Okay. What is wealth? Let's talk about wealth really quickly. Tonight is about money. Tonight is about wealth and what we're going to do with the money that you're going to go out and make. Okay. Because you're taking a sacrifice. You're going to do something that few other people do. I know around here we hear about a lot of people doing it, but this is rare. And I applaud you for being rare. I try to be rare in my life. I don't want to be like everybody else. What is wealth? I'm going to stun you by my definition of wealth. Sorry, I got to get used to the clicker. Is this wealth? Hey, a lot of people look at this and say, yeah, big home, Ferrari, Rolls Royce, stuff like that. That's wealth. That is not the wealth that we're here to talk about tonight. Because a lot of times, all of this, that's not the wealth that I'm talking about tonight. The wealth that I'm here to talk to you about tonight is wealth that's long lasting. Okay. I don't want to bash other crews, other teams, stuff like that, but I see a lot of people in my class and around school that are wearing really expensive high tops. Maybe you are, I'm not bashing you. And they're wearing great big gold chains and stuff like that. My presentation isn't for that crowd. Okay, my presentation is different because when I talk about wealth, my definition of wealth is different. My definition of wealth is how long can you subsist if you got whacked by a car tonight? Didn't die. Just let's say you became a quadriplegic walking across the street. How long could you subsist? Now, some of you have been doing summer sales. You're going to do okay because hopefully you have some quid in the bank. Well, let's go to our parents for a minute. Okay. How long could your parents subsist if they lost both sources of income today? Most people can last a couple of months. You know, how much does it cost you to live a month? Let's say a normal family. $4-ish grand a month, car payment, house payment, utilities, stuff like that. It's going to be, I'd say, a couple months for most people when it's $5 grand a month to live and you've got 10 grand in savings, maybe 20. Okay, so the big question for you guys today to ask yourself, don't need to raise your hand, don't need to confess. Are you a spender or are you a saver? Okay, let's confess. Spenders, raise your hand. Thank you for confessing. That's a lot of hands in there. Okay, we want to be before this one. No, I love it that you're on. Savers, raise your hand.
I'm a saver.
Spenders seldom achieve wealth. Okay, you look great. You got on gold chains. You got on $350 high tops. You got a Beamer sitting out in the lot. Chicks dig you. That's awesome. But that's not what it's about. I'm going to teach you something totally different tonight that I want you to aspire to. Okay, because it's not about those appearances. My brother-in-law, I was sitting at Thanksgiving dinner many, many years ago, and I'm sitting there listening to my brother-in-law. He's a certified dork. And so he's sitting there and he's talking about this business that he started. And he is banking serious quid. He's doing $180,000 to $250,000 a month per cart. A cart is that thing down the center of the mall, in between the stores in the middle, you know, those little 4x8 carts. Well, he had 3 of those, and each one was doing $180 to $250 a month. And I'm just sitting here listening, thinking, he's a dork, and he's doing what? Wow. I listened real carefully. And when I got home, I was in Denver. I got home and I had one of my employees go upstairs. And I said, I want you to call every single mall in this country. When they pick up, do you have a Metabolife card? Yes. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye. If they say no, have them fax you a verb you would never understand. Paper came through the phone line back then. Fax me a contract. Over the next week or 10 days, we picked up 17 malls across the country for Metabolife. Over the next three-ish years, we made millions of dollars. I never stepped foot in any one of those malls. I hired one person to work all of those malls for me, and all we did was sit and bank. And then Metabolife came and bought us out. Why do I tell you that story? Because when I heard my dork brother-in-law tell that story, talk about his business, I said, whoa. And I had savings because my wife and I are savers. We stockpile cash. And because I had money, I went and pounced on that opportunity, and it was a life changer for my late 20s. Total game changer for us. So we got to have money to make things happen, but especially what I'm talking about tonight, okay? So where will our wealth come from? Have you wondered? There's very specific ways to create wealth, and tonight I'm going to teach you the easiest. Every single one of you can do this. And even those people who don't do summer sales and grab a job with, name it, Qualtrics, not picking on them. They can do this. Anybody can do what I'm going to teach you tonight, okay? So maybe you're planning to work up the corporate ladder. Maybe you're going to win the lottery. Problem is, more people get hit by lightning to win the lottery. Maybe you're going to sell your business. It's a good way to get there if you're going to be entrepreneurs, okay? Tonight, I'm going to talk to you about financial security, and financial security comes from financial intelligence. So I'm going to teach you a lot of things about being financially smart tonight. The thing I struggle with this in is, why don't we teach this? Why isn't this class that I'm having with you tonight required? Like, if you're not going to go to college, you should have to do this before you get a car, before you can go on a date. And this is like 101. I just don't understand why nobody teaches you this. At the end of the night, I think you're going to say, wow. Yet, as wow as it is, and as easy as it is, nobody teaches it. And when I teach people this in my class at school at BYU, they go home and tell their parents get mad at me. What the mother fetch are you doing teaching my kid that? I want them learning accounting. I want them learning music 101 and American heritage. Okay, so you graduate from college. Maybe some of you are going to college, maybe some of you are not. You graduate from college, first thing you do, buy a home, right? And we buy a car, graduated, we're big time, we're gonna have some assets, I got a job, then comes the family. I get married, we have some children. What's my starting salary at this new job? Just graduated from school, what's my salary? 60? 40? 40, 60? Okay. I'm going to bump you up. You got a good job. You got a $70,000 a year job, okay? 70,000 a year pays 58.33 a month. Okay, so that's what we're making at this job, fresh out of college. Now, isn't that interesting? A moment ago, we were setting a goal to make 80 G's over 4.5 months. Folks graduating from college, hoping to make 70. Just a little holy mother of pearl comment there. Okay, all right. So let's look at how that breaks down. We make 70 grand a year. Okay, we got our taxes come out of that. Ooh, that's not a very good color. Tax Freedom Day last year was April 16th of 2022. What does Tax Freedom Day mean? You are going to work until April 16th of last year. This year, we'll see what it turns out to be, just to pay your tax burden. Wow, that's depressing. Okay, so we still have more than 2 months this year to work just to meet our tax burden. All right, so that's what that says in dark. You'll see it better when it gets it on your computer. Okay, I bought you guys a home. I bought you a home for $350,000. We put 10% down, so $35K, 5% interest for 30 years. See any errors in that? The whole thing is flawed. You can't buy a house for 350 grand. This thing's way outdated. It's a nice box under a bridge today. Okay. Sorry. And interest rate went up to 7.75%. Last Wednesday, week ago today. We went up another quarter point. It's gonna get nasty. I love it. So will you by the end of the presentation. Right now you're depressed, but by the end of the presentation. So this fictitious, unrealistic home that I bought for you is going to cost you $19.74 a month. Okay. Homeowners insurance, I built that into here, so they're all built in. Okay. Car payment is working great now. Thank you. Car payment, insurance, all that on that. Okay, we've got to pay $670 for that. I teach at BYU, so we got to pay tithing. If you're LDS, you get it. If you're not, you're 583 ahead. You put on the plate, right? Hope you're going somewhere. Not like it's all, I meant like going to church. Let's put some money into savings, right? Because this is what normal people do is they pay into a 401k. I call this forced savings. I call this, I'm not responsible enough to save money on my own, so I'm going to put it into forced savings so the government can hold it for me until I'm 67 years old. That's so depressing. Okay, but that's what people do. So great, happy for people. And then we got to have some money for living expenses, right? We got a home, so we have utilities, we have gas for the car, food, we got to go on a date so we can keep our wife happy or our husband. And then repairs for the car, for the house, whatever, right? So there's our 70 G's, and at the end of the month, we are $413 upside down. Yeah! Okay, if you're not a Mormon, you're doing all right. This isn't even realistic. You can't even buy a house for that today. You don't even want to do the calcs on what that house would cost today. A starter home today is $500K, and interest rates are 7.75. So that number, just double it up. Literally double it up. Okay, that number is $4,000. So you can't afford a home, is the reality, and this number is a lot bigger, negative bigger. Okay, you with me? Don't get depressed. This isn't therapy. This is how can we do it better? Okay, but we have to illustrate the flaws in what's going on so that we understand why we're going to make this sacrifice and what we're going to do with it. Okay, all right. So most people have no savings. In 2019, a Yahoo survey realized that less than 70% of Americans, pardon me, approximately 70% of Americans have less than $1,000 in savings. So when I ask you how long could your mom and dad subsist, approximately 70% of people, they couldn't even make it a week. Okay, that's how bad it is because most people are deep in credit card debt. So it's the other way. All right, moving right along. So we got our first job and, we go buy our car, we get our everything done and we need to get a raise. Right out of the chute, we need a raise. And so I go and I put this together. Let's say we're making 90 grand a year. Okay. Everything's the same. We pay more taxes and so forth. Tax Freedom Day for 2021 was May 31st. You can just Google all of this, by the way. At 90,000 a year, we come out plus 444 in this scenario, realizing the same flaws still exist. Okay, so we look at this and there we go. Although I give you 90 instead of 70, the problem is the more money you make, the more money you spend. Because we're humans, we get a raise, we get excited, we want a better car, we want nicer jewelry, we want nicer sunglasses, and we go spend more money. And this is where my point about being a saver versus a spender is so critically important if you want to achieve certain goals, the goals that I'm going to help you see tonight, okay? All right, so we get a bigger house, we get a bigger car, we got a lot of kids, got to have the Mormon Mobile, Suburban. And what I've shown to you here is what I call the rat race. You heard the term being part of the rat race? That's what this is. You've just got yourself a job. You've got yourself enough expenses. You are a prisoner to that job. You have to keep working that job because you've got to pay those bills and make ends meet. And that's the rat race. People enter the rat race and they seldom leave it because they're prisoners to it. Okay, there is a better way. All right, so we're going to work on financial intelligence tonight. Really quick lesson. Okay, super quick. Assets produce income, while liabilities produce expenses. Okay, basic income statement. Okay, a car is an expense. I have house here under assets, but it's arguable. Sorry, my colors need some work, but this is the cash flow pattern of a poor person. They have a job, they get a paycheck, probably not a salary, but an hourly wage. So they get a monthly income, they pay bills from it, their house, their rent, their car payment, food, and utilities. Okay. That's the cash flow pattern of a poor person. Fair? Relatable? Yeah, probably. Sorry. Okay. No assets, just expenses for poor people. Okay. Living paycheck to paycheck. Now, this says middle class. The middle class person, probably most of your mom and dads fall into the middle class category. My mom and dad did. Okay. Middle class, they earn a salary, 70, 90, $120, whatever it is. They're earning a salary and they're paying their expenses. They have a mortgage. They have insurance on their car and their house, utilities, food, same old stuff. They might even have some assets because they've been paying into a 401k. They consider their home to be an asset. We looked at all those expenses before. It's arguable, right? Especially with the high interest rates. It's arguable. And they have some securities. Maybe they have some stocks and bonds and stuff like that, okay? So their home is their primary asset. Think to yourself, what is my mom and dad's primary asset? Most every one of you would say my parents' primary asset is their home. My mom and dad, it was the home. 100%. They had a home. They also had a vacation home in St. George. So you could say those two homes were their assets. Okay. The problem is a home for most people is a liability. Now there's an increase in value in homes and so forth. So that's where you could consider it an asset, unless every time you get that opportunity from your bank that says refinance now, and you take out the earned equity that you've received in your home to put in a pool or to add on or to remodel the kitchen. And as soon as we keep taking that away, then you're not getting that asset gain isn't there because you keep taking it out. And that's true of most people. Okay. So seldom is it an asset. All right. Just remember this, minus 413 on 70 grand. Okay. The poor and the middle class work for money. Super important. We work for money. First, we work for the paycheck to paycheck. The middle class spend most of the year working for the company, then the government, according to my tax freedom day, it's the government, then, the company, then the government, then the bank paying for their mortgage. By the time you pay all that off, what's left for me? It's a pretty small percentage. Maybe the income from November and December is my reward. Because the rest of the time, I've just been working to pay for my house, my car, taxes. Get it? Okay. That's an entrepreneur slide there, sorry. The wealthy versus the middle class. Now we're going to explore the wealthy. You are all on a path to become wealthy. You are on a path to become wealthy. There's a lot you have to do to stay there, but move number one is committing right here. All right, so here's the wealthy. The wealthy buy assets. These assets that I put here seem really big. A building and an apartment complex. They're just pictures, but it's to show that the wealthy have things that make money for them. You're like, well, of course, they got wealthy and then they bought these things. No, why would I be teaching you this if that were the case? They understand that their house is a liability. This isn't where I'm making my money, okay? The wealthy buy assets that produce income. The middle class buy liabilities they think are assets. The poor just have expenses. It sucks to be poor. Let's just summarize, okay? All right, so how are we going to do this? First of all, you have to subscribe to my hypnosis. Okay, that is super powerful psychedelic effect. I am poor. Okay, so seriously, you've heard your mom and dad tell stories, and I can tell you stories and bore you about how my wife and I lived for years. We lived in a townhome, we never heated it. To shower, it was so cold during the winter time, we would go in the bathroom, close the door, get undressed in the bathroom and get in the shower. And then when all that steam had heated up the bathroom, we wouldn't leave the bathroom until we were fully clothed. Poor stories like that, not war stories, poor stories are awesome to tell, okay? Live poor. And I mean it, embrace boredom and just be like, okay, this is cool. Because you're working towards something else, something greater. I get it. You've got 120 G's in the bank. Drive a nice car, wear a nice watch, nice sunglasses, go on nice trips. No, something different, okay? All right, so there's our income, minus 413. The question is, how do we take this house and turn it into an asset rather than a liability, okay? And that's how it's done, okay? That's a twin home, but anything like a twin home, this is a basement apartment, okay? So when we look at duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, you've heard of all that? Those are called income producing properties. They're really hard to buy because everybody wants them. Your moms and dads and people who are getting later in life, they've started to accrue some cash. They want to go buy income producing properties because the light finally is going off for them. Literally, the light is finally going off and everybody wants to buy duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. They're hard to buy because they're expensive and everybody's going after them. But the secret around here is a home with a basement apartment. It's the same thing as a duplex. I have a basement apartment and I have a top floor. Now, what I'm recommending to you is that you go buy, whoops, that's the wrong way, is that you go buy something like this, okay? That's a basement apartment, mother-in-law apartment, all the same thing. These are called income producing real estate. And this is what I'm telling you to do with the quid that you go bring down this summer. We don't come home and buy fancy things. We don't change our lifestyle. If anything, take your lifestyle down a notch. Don't take it up a notch. I know you just busted and you made a lot of money and I'm happy for you. The mistake is coming home and spending it. Lots of kids over there, lots of kids in town wearing lots of flashy stuff, trying to say, look at me, look at me. What I'm telling you to do, move into the basement. You don't live upstairs. Why don't you live upstairs? It's your house. You just bought it. You went and did summer sales for 2 years. You banked. You bought a house. Why are you living in the basement? Why? Okay, that's a good reason because I can charge more money for upstairs. But why else? Because you're poor. We are embracing the fact that we are poor. Poor people live in the basement. Now that's kind of funny, right? You're laughing. I got 150 G's in the bank and I'm living in the basement. The people upstairs don't have 10 grand in their savings account. But they're paying $2,150 to live in my upstairs. They're paying $2,150 to live in my upstairs. They're making the majority of your house payment. You're living downstairs for super cheap while they buy most of your house. Now, this is something that's changed in the past 2 years. 2 years ago, had you done this, when Parker was eating up his homes, I would tell you, you live in the basement, you put somebody upstairs, they're going to pay your entire mortgage for you. This is economics. It's going to change from time to time because interest rates change from time to time. House prices are very high. Right now, we're in a super unique time where we have high house prices and high interest rates. It's a double negative. But 2 years ago, and it'll come back. Don't worry, just give it a moment. All hell's about to break loose. Sorry if you're a BYU student. But seriously, with what's going on, it just can't keep going. Nobody can buy homes. And so it's going to soften and come back down. All right. But for now, look, you live in the basement, you rent out the top floor, they're going to make the vast majority of your payment. Okay. So duplexes. So here's the deal. You go out and you buy one of these. First of all, first year people. Okay. Second year people, you guys will qualify. Okay. You have to have 2 years of income. You're independent sales force. You're making your own money. You're not working for an employer. The mortgage world loves people who have a job. They don't like those of us, including myself, who are self-employed. And this is self-employment. What you're doing is self-employment. You don't work for Point. You're an independent contractor. You don't qualify for a mortgage very easily. You need to do this for 2 years. Once you've had this job for 2 years, now you'll qualify. Okay? There are some other tricks to it, but I don't think we have time for it tonight. Okay, so 2 years of income as an independent contractor. So first year people, bank it. Don't touch it. Go do it again next year. Bank it. Don't touch it. You'll then qualify in January after you've turned in your tax return. Okay, that's what it takes to qualify for a mortgage. Okay, as soon as you bought one, you move in the basement, rent the top floor. They're making the majority of the payment. On you go. You go sell for another summer. You come home. What you going to do? Buy another one. So I'm going to go out and buy another home with a basement apartment. I'm going to move into that basement apartment. What am I going to do with the first basement apartment? What happens when I rent the first one? I'm cash flow positive. Now, wait a minute. What was your parents' biggest asset?
House.
A house. You own two. And somebody's buying you your first one. Comprende? Somebody is buying you your parents' biggest asset. No. That's stupid. How could that possibly be? Stupid is the people who don't do it. It's as simple as I've told you. I have hundreds of students who have listened and done. Most people aren't doers. Sorry, the world's full of losers. You guys, I'm here tonight because you're winners. You're doing something that people don't do. And I truly respect you and applaud you for making this decision and doing what you're doing. It's tough, but this is how you get ahead in life. Your counterparts, I'm comparing you to college students. Your counterparts at college are going to go get a summer job. Fair? Some of them are going to work for free in what they call an internship. It's the way we totally take advantage of you. Okay? Some of you will go get a job. What's that summer job going to pay? Help me out. I pay 20. I gotta reduce my wages. But 20, what does $20 an hour equate to on a paycheck?
This summer?
No, in a month.
$1,000, $2,000.
Okay, let's call it $2,000, $2,500. Same 4.5 months, you're going to be gone. 12.5. Less taxes. They don't have anything to go against their taxes. You do. A whole nother discussion for another day. Nothing to compete, nothing to bring their taxes down. Bye money. So they're gonna end up at the end of the summer with, on the high end, $70,000. Fair? Yes, sir.
Yeah, tonight, my mom's actually a CPA. and
Yeah.
so we were calculating the taxes on a 30 grand income. If you earn $30,000, you get about 15,000 at the end of the summer after taxes,
15 G.
roughly 12 to 15, yeah, depending on what state you sell in and things like that.
Okay, right? Ouch. That's just, all your money's gone. So, look, this is not a home. This is a business. Now, let me just talk to you about the tax benefits of owning a business home. Yes, sir.
What
Strauss,
advice,
drug dealer. Yes.
what advice do you have for like these, like mother-in-law apartments when they're not like zoned as like a duplex, when they're zoned as like a single family?
Okay, so what he's talking about is every city has different rules, okay? Provo's rules are different than Orem. Even though they touch property lines, Provo is strict. And don't even look in Provo. Unless you're going to buy a home with a basement apartment in which you're gonna live in the basement, and you're gonna rent the upstairs to a family member, I wouldn't even touch it. They're that strict. Right across the city line is Orem. You buy your first home, you move in the basement, you rent the top floor. After the next year, you go buy another one. You move out of that. You're renting top and bottom. You're breaking the law. It's not like death penalty law. Okay? You move into the basement of your second home and you rent the top, right? And this one over here is rented to 2 people. I don't know of another municipality in the state of Utah that cares. Except for Provo. Okay? Provo's very strict. And it's because of BYU and all of the renting that takes place around BYU, the streets, cars on the street, stuff like that. Orem has UVU, it's just different, they don't care. But Provo's. Work for the city of Provo. Super strict, no, UVU is great, but in Orem, I would have no concerns. In any other municipality in the state of Utah, 0 concerns. So St. George is a little dicey, okay, but anywhere else, nobody cares. It's, you're renting both levels, no big deal. Technically it's against state law, but. So you keep doing this. Yeah,
Can I just add, I have multiple 2 units that are one actually in Provo that I've never gotten in trouble on. It's not a legal duplex, but Orem, Pleasant Grove, a lot of mine are like single family homes with a basement apartment. I no longer live there and I've never
had a problem. Never. So don't worry about it, except for I always urge caution in Provo. Okay, but there's no other worries. Like Parker said, never had an issue. If worse came to worse and a neighbor got all huffy with you, you'd need to move in, or you need to put the property on the market and sell it, which you will make $50,000 or $100,000 when you do that. Okay, so it's not the end of the world. So we buy one, we buy another one, we buy another one, we buy another one, and we keep doing this. We keep doing summer sales, we keep banking, we keep buying these homes, and something very interesting starts to happen. I have all these people buying me homes. I'm cash flow positive on most of them, except for maybe the one I live in, where I'm living for 1/3 of the money that I could live for. Okay. And I'm just building up this real estate portfolio. I'm still in my 20s right here. Still in my 20s. Now maybe I'm in my early 30s and I've built up 10 or 12 of these. Okay. But I'm no longer doing summer sales. I've got businesses, I've got all kinds of stuff going on. Because this whole strategy catapulted me into a smart financial frontier. I'm just looking at life differently, okay? I've got 10 or 12 of these properties. And I have produced passive income. I have produced an amazing source of income. Now, let me just really help you understand how important this is that I'm teaching you. Who's married? Where's the spouse? You guys, husband and wife. Okay, you did this. You did exactly as Brother Church told you. You went out, you sold, you baked every summer. You came home, you bought a new home every single year. You moved into the next one, all this, you build up 10 or 12 of these. You guys are so pumped. It's your 10-year anniversary. You go on a plane and boom, it smashes into the mountain. You all die. But you got those little toddlers at home. Your job at KPMG, boom, it crashed into the mountainside with you. It ended that day. This didn't. This printing press that you created never stops. It just continues to produce money. Now, if you're smart, you'll leave it alone and you'll let people buy you these homes. You're cash flow positive to some degree on every one of them. Keep that cash coming in. They pay for them. Eventually they're paid off. You're not working. You don't need a job. Now, let me ask a question that I asked at the beginning. If you became a quadriplegic today, how long could you subsist if you had built up a real estate portfolio and left it alone? You get what I'm teaching you? This is financial intelligence. It's what everybody should know. But they don't. This is the difference maker in life. You want to get ahead? I'm here tonight to tell you, all of you, to live for the next 10 years like nobody else you know is willing, so that you can live the rest of your life like nobody else you know is able. Comprende? I have no idea what that means. That's what it's about. If you'll make this sacrifice and you'll live poor, and you spenders will change your ways tonight. Start stockpiling quids. Start buying real estate. There is so much more to this. If I had 4 hours, I would go off on the greatest word in the world. What do you think that is? Wrong. It's amortization. Because I'm going to depreciate this house, each of these homes, every single year. But in the first year, I get a write-off like huge amount of it. Why don't I pay taxes? Well, paying taxes is for stupid people. I don't do one thing dishonest. I would never cheat, because it's not worth it to me at this point in my life to gamble and risk going to jail. Financial intelligence allows you to write off, to depreciate your asset, amortize it over a number of years, depreciate it, and write it off against your taxes. And not pay taxes. Brother Romney, do we know Brother Romney? Mitt? Mitt ran, lost to that other guy. But here's the key. Mitt was leading the election. It was all Mitt's. People were pushing him hard to release his tax, his tax returns. He said, no, it's not your business. No, it's not your business. The American people think it's your business, think it's their business if you're running for president. He eventually capitulated and released his tax returns. He makes a lot of money. And he only paid 14.1% in taxes. And he immediately fell in the polls and lost the election. Who's stupid? We're stupid. Do we not want the smartest person to be running our country? Isn't this the world's largest corporation? Yeah, the United States of America is the world's largest single corporation. Don't we want the bloody smartest CEO at the top of it? No. Because that guy legally got out of paying most of his taxes. We said, bad guy, he didn't pay. Here's the quote. He didn't pay his fair share. Only stupid people pay their fair share. Smart people use every legal deduction possible to reduce their tax bill, because the IRS provided those opportunities to us. The IRS provided those opportunities to us. And so when we get into real estate, if I were to keep going tonight, if I had more time, I would talk to you about this plan, and we've got all these properties. And then we go into a 2022 where real estate prices are psycho. They're just crazy, ridiculous. They're otherworldly. We take that whole portfolio and we sell it for crazy numbers at 275 to 325 a foot, because I can show this rental income and basement apartment. I can show how lucrative this has been. I sell it all. And then I use IRS code 1031 to take all of that money and to go buy myself a big old handsome apartment building. And instead of paying my taxes, you know what IRS code 1031 says? It's where the government says, why don't you reinvest our money with yours? We like what you're doing. And so instead of paying taxes on that mega wad that I just made, the government lets me reinvest their money alongside my money in this big old massive apartment complex that's just going to bank for years and years and years to come. And although I didn't pay any money on the millions of dollars I made for 12 years, I get to reinvest their money with mine and just keep making more. All legal. Depreciation, 1031, all this stuff. It's financial intelligence. Yes, sir.
So.
Your hand's been up for a long time. I ignored you. I'm sorry.
No, appreciate it. So if I'm getting this right, so what you're saying is let people buy your house. So you're not making any like cash income like you can see it in your bank account per se, while they pay your house payment. So you have 11 homes, well, 11 and a half homes, because you're living in the basement as well. And you have all of these people purchasing assets, but you're not seeing cash flow into your account per se.
You are.
You are.
Yeah, because the person in this home,
Yeah.
The person in the basement apartment, they're paying you rent. It's coming into your LLC.
Okay.
Person upstairs, they're paying rent. It's coming into your LLC. Most of it's going right back out to pay the mortgage. It's not, because you're renting both halves. If you were living in the basement, you'd be contributing to the mortgage payment today.
Okay. So the idea is to get an excess of payment that you pay both mortgage and see cash flow.
Yep.
Okay.
When you move out of this first one and you put a tenant top and bottom, you'll be cash flow positive. Maybe $400 or $500 a month. Okay, not a lot. Used to be a lot. Now it's not so much. Now you're over here. You're in the basement. You got somebody upstairs, because this is number 2. This one, you're paying part of the mortgage and they're paying the bulk of it. So on this upstairs, you'll get about $1,800 to $2,400. And your mortgage on this at $500K would be about $4,000. So you can see they're paying the bulk of it, but you're still going to be paying a fair share. And that's just because of high home prices, high interest rates. This is a conundrum. It's really a problem. And it's why they're trying to put our market into a recession. We're trying to force a recession to get things back into whack, because wages keep going up, home prices keep going up, groceries, all consumer goods keep going up, and our market can't sustain it. That's inflation. Answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, good question. Yes, sir.
What are your thoughts about like taking out a loan to buy real estate? Because I know there's different options where, like, if you're living in a duplex, you can get a certain lower rate and things like that. Or is it best to wait until you have the lump sum to buy that home?
Good question. Do I take out a mortgage to buy real estate? 100% of the time. You guys are going to bank doing summer sales. I get it. But that's like 4 years of summer sales, 3 years, 4 years to buy one. We mortgage every single home we buy. If I put down 20%, I can get out of PMI. It's mortgage insurance. Should I do that? No. No, you should always maximize the loan at 95%. Okay, we always use the bank money and we try to buy as many of these as we can, because somebody else is making the payment. And it's more about quantity than it is about
Equity.
saving a little bit on PMI. PMI is not a big expense. I think it's 1.5. Okay, so no, we want to maximize the mortgage every time.
What would you say, you're talking about a goal for summer sales as like an adult, what number would you put on a comfortable net worth to shoot for?
Net worth,
Yeah,
$1 billion. Help me understand your question.
Well,
I want to set my goal high. I'm going for a bill.
Well, here's the thing I would say, like, I've had tons of mentors and stuff like that, and out of respect, I don't ask how much they make, and I don't necessarily tell people how much I make, but sometimes I need, like, I know myself and some of my friends, like, we want to hear what's like a goal we should shoot for. It's like how much we should be worth to live comfortably, to like do the things we want to do.
So,
Because some people say it's like 120 grand.
but that's so subjective, because what are my expenses? If I have lots of debt and stuff like that, it's so subjective. If I'm free and clear, 15 grand a month after taxes, after expenses, you're living pretty good. That's money you're going to be investing into real estate, going on vacation, stuff. We're not going on a vacation, right? Vacations are cheap. We're going to Jackson's Hole, we're going to St. George, Vegas, we're driving, right? We're not spending money. The glamorous trips are going to come, right? So I think the answer to your question would be, if I could get to that point, but I want you to look at it in a little different lens. I want you to look at this real estate scenario that I just taught you. And it'll be more like, how many of these homes do I need to have until I can get 15 G's free and clear a month? And I'm going to get you there faster, because you cannot believe what this plan right here will do to reduce your taxes. So whatever other money you're making, I'm going to give more of it back to you than what CPA son's mom told him. Because when you have a job, those financial numbers that I gave you before from 70 grand, you notice that I took the money out for taxes right away. Why? Who's got a job? How much you make? 20 an hour. What does your paycheck reflect? 20 an hour? If you work 10 hours, do you get a $200 paycheck? What do you get?
I get around.
Okay. On 200 bucks, 10 hours. Okay, you work 10 hours, 20 bucks an hour, $200. What would that paycheck look like? 100 and a quarter? Maybe. You see, my point is, before he ever touched his money, the taxes had already been taken out. You don't have a choice. The money's gone. As an employer, I'm required to take your money out, and I'm required to give it to the government so that you have no say in the matter. Your say comes on April 15th when you fight for some back or pay what you haven't paid in yet. That's your say. Self-employed and doing what we're doing with this changed the whole game. Puts you in control, because you are telling the IRS why you're not giving them this money, because that money went into your LLC. It didn't go into some corporation, which it did, it went into your corporation, but it didn't go into some corporation that took taxes out and then gave you your money. It went into your corporation. You did all the stuff you could do, and then you pay your taxes. It's as beautiful as it sounds. And it's called financial intelligence.
8:55.
And that's all that we have time for tonight. What I tried to share with you guys tonight and gals is how to get ahead in life. Like, really, really get ahead. The time to do this is right now. Could your mom and dad implement this plan in their lives? No chance. Some of you are thinking about it. Let me help you. No, they're not going to live in the basement. They're not even going to let somebody live in their basement. Maybe you, but not a stranger. It's not going to happen. You cannot do this another time. The only time that you're going to be willing to live this poor and make this sacrifice is right now. If you're willing to do this, it will catapult you forward in life like you can't believe. It's a stunner. And the people in this room are making the income at this stage of life to do it. Your friends aren't. That's why I'm here speaking to you. I also share this with my class at BYU, and people get excited, but they come up to me and say, how do I do this? And my answer, go do somewhere else. Because it's the only way at your age that you can do this and get ahead. Okay? Happy to answer more questions. Happy to put you in touch with my real estate agent. At the very end of this deck, here's a bunch of information, says a bunch of stuff. You'll love it. There's some examples. It's all about the math. Is this a good home to buy? Is this a good home to buy? You're going to go study Zillow. You're going to learn a lot about it. Is this a good home to buy? Don't ask me. It's about the math. How much do I pay for it? What's my monthly cost going to be? Zillow will show you. Break it down. What's my monthly cost? What can I rent the top and the bottom for? You're going to see it's kind of upside down right now. But I think there's a buy season coming at the end of this year. I think it's going to get juicy. I think it's going to start to suck for people. That's exactly what we're waiting for. Okay? Because it's just crazy out of whack right now. But it doesn't matter, because at the end of next year, when you're ready to buy, it's just, it's out of whack and it'll get corrected. But at the end of this presentation is a name and phone number for you. Wait for it. We're getting there. We're getting there. Super exciting. Take my family picture out. They get mad when I show up. Tyler Jackson. For specific questions, I have bought a number of homes from Tyler Jackson. Tyler Jackson is a master at finding exactly this. And I share his name and contact information with you. He's the one you want to ask your specific questions to. If you want to get on his list so that he notifies you when homes are available and when he's found one, he'll put you on his list. But you have to become real estate experts. You're not ready to buy right now. Maybe some of you have been doing this for a couple of years and you've got quid in the bank. You're not ready to buy right now. If you sold it, if you spent that money, I need to have a chat with you. But seriously, it's not the time to buy. The math will not work out right now. It just doesn't. I spend time on this every single week, looking at homes, looking for buys, watching the market. And it truly sucks right now. The math is way out of whack. And that's why you see the Fed taking the drastic measures that they're taking. And because it's bad, it has to change. So just wait a minute for a better market, but you need to become experts. I need you surfing Zillow every night. Okay? We need to get on Zillow. We need to be looking for homes with basement apartments anywhere in Utah. Anywhere. Where are you from? Go look there. But you need to figure this out. You need to learn and you need to keep studying so that you see those prices start to come down. And you see the math get better and better and better. This is how you become an expert in this area. And Tyler will guide you down that path. I'd love to take your calls, but there's no way. It's too many of you. It's all Tyler does all day. And he'll take your calls and he'll help you out. But don't all go call him tomorrow. You need to have the quid and be ready to buy. And between now and that time frame, study and learn. Become experts. I promise the 80 of you listening to this tonight, it's a game changer. Told you I was going to come back to Parker. 5 years ago, I sat down with this young kid. Comes in and sits down with me on the far west end of the Marriott, the Tanner building. Sits down and he says, I got this much to invest. You rob a bank. I was stunned. I couldn't believe it. 5 years later, how many doors do you have? Now, this basement apartment, that's 2 doors. This basement apartment with the top, that's 2 doors. Okay? And so we count these as doors. How many doors do you want?
29.
5 years later, 29 doors. What is your goal? 5 years later, 29 doors. That's your goal. This summer, bare minimum, 80K. Go bust it. Smash that dog's brains in. He's slowing you down from selling. It attacks me because I'm knocking on that door. Right? I sold 9 that day. Okay? Yeah, my leg was dragging behind me, but I sold 9 that day. That's what I'm looking for. You get it? Like you got to be goal driven. You got to be goal driven to 80, 100, 120K. And now you have a reason to chase that money. You're chasing that money not to buy high tops and gold chains and a Beamer. You're chasing that money to buy income producing property that will change your lives. And Brenda, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we got a little gift for you.
I don't like
Not a very,
this.
not a very cool gift, but it's.
Is it a duplex?
Yeah. No, we took a picture on our top producer trip. Some of your kids are in it, so we thought that was cool, but it's just, you can put this in one of your fancy offices or something, but. Yeah, just a bunch of our top reps from last year and.
Thanks, guys. I joke a lot. We got a lot of sarcasm in me. It's the only way I know how to talk. What I taught you tonight, it's the real deal. I'm not selling you homes. I'm not selling you a book. The book I want you to buy is Rich Dad Poor Dad, Guy Kiyosaki. It'll teach you why we do this, but it won't tell you how. Tonight I taught you the how, but tomorrow every single one of you should buy Guy Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. Best book. There's no reason why I taught you this tonight, other than I want you to get ahead in line. I want you to live an easier, better life because you can, and it's that simple. Little sacrifice for 10 years, it'll pay off. Okay, thanks for having me.